Good morning. Welcome to the first in a series called Longevity at Home. We're going to focus on topics that will help you stay in your home as you age. Today's topic is a home fit home. We'll give you design and modifications that can be done to make your home safer and more comfortable. My name is Linda Adelman, and I've worked as a nurse for over 40 years here in Evansville, and I'm currently the co-leader, along with Janet Kilbane, of the Evansville AARP volunteer group. And I will be introducing the speakers today and bringing questions to them that may arise during the presentation. Our speakers today are Addison Pollock. He is one of the community engagement directors from Indiana AARP, and it's his drive and persistence that has made this presentation possible. Dr. Janet Kilbane, my co-leader for our Evansville volunteer group, had over 20 years of occupational therapy practice before going to teach at the University of Southern Indiana. And she retired there after 23 years as chairman of the occupational therapy program. We also have available 2 home service volunteers from SWRCA and more to answer any questions you may have regarding services that they might provide. Jennifer Davis just celebrated her 16th anniversary with SWRCA, and she's had a variety of roles from care manager, waiver supervisor, and now supervises a portion of the care management staff. Michelle Ray has been with the agency over 12 years, and she started as an options counselor, became a team leader, and now she holds a supervisory position. And I also want to thank Dan Dobsick and Mel Bolander. They're in the studio making this possible. So now I'm going to turn over to Addison.
All right. Thanks so much, Linda. I appreciate it. And thanks everyone for being on the program today. So really what I'm going to do now is transition and make the case for why a home fit home is important. And I want to pose the question, how does your home fit you? As you see on the slide, we want you to vision today, what if all homes could be suitable for anyone, regardless of that person's age or physical ability? And then also, what if a person who wants to live independently, regardless of his or her age or physical ability, could do just that? Next slide, please. So there are 3 major objectives for today's workshop, and I'm so thankful that Jennifer and Michelle are here to jump in and add to the conversation for our Evansville audience and anyone else who might be viewing this program. The first objective is to assist you in recognizing all the great ways your home can be designed and updated to support your needs and lifestyles as you age. So begin to think about all that you can do in your current home to allow you to remain safely as long as you choose. Next slide. Our second objective is to determine what is important to you in your living environment. Not all homes are the same. Not all people have the same preferences. So take away from this program what matters most to you. Next slide, please. And the third objective is to determine what type of improvements are needed. And then we will talk about some specialists who can assist you in making home modifications if necessary. Next slide. So Jennifer, Michelle, feel free to jump in while Janet and I are presenting. But I first want to make the case for the cost of not staying in your home. So if you look at this graph here, it goes through several living alternative options. Everything from home health aid to semi-private nursing home rooms and private nursing home rooms. As you can see, the monthly costs are fairly expensive, and the annual costs are also fairly expensive. And these are Evansville, Indiana numbers, according to the source at the bottom there. And some home modifications might seem fairly expensive. You might have some sticker shock up front, things such as like a stair lift or some other major modification, and they are expensive. They can be expensive, but really what we want to do is frame this conversation with comparing the cost of what one of those home modifications might be versus these living alternatives in perpetuity. So, a higher priced home modification may be the only thing that prevents you from, accessing something that's critical for you in your house on the second floor. So a bathroom or your bedroom. So it might be worth it for your loved one or yourself to invest in that high cost up front rather than going to one of these alternatives that are listed here. Michelle or Jennifer, did you want to add anything to that?
Sure. Go ahead, Michelle.
I was just going to say, Addison, you're absolutely right. A lot of those alternatives are very expensive, and it is an ongoing cost opposed to doing a one-time modification in the home. Some of the most popular modifications that we see are bathroom modifications. Sometimes we can do a tub cutout, or sometimes it's a full walk-in shower, grab bars, toilet seat risers, all types of things. And, as far as, even though the nursing home and the assisted living says are the higher kind of expenses, even ongoing like home health aides or attendant care workers, sometimes they may have a sick child, or they themselves may be sick, and the agencies may not have a backup caregiver to come into the home. So there is no guarantee, even with those, that a provider can always show up. So if you have the ability to make that modification and to stay in your home, it's always ideal. Most people these days want to age in place and remain at home.
Jennifer, did you have anything to add to that?
Probably not much. It sounds like Michelle touched on most everything, but as far as if you're talking like a walk-in shower and, maybe an ADA toilet that's a little bit higher to make it easier to get up and down. If you're planning on doing like a full bathroom modification, it can be in the ballpark of probably $10,000 to $15,000 on average, depending upon, what types of things need to be modified in that bathroom.
Absolutely. Go ahead.
Something as simple as a bathtub cutout, like Michelle mentioned, the average cost on that would probably be around $1,000 to $1,500. So the main benefit of that obviously is it's more cost effective, but the individual still has to be able to step up over about a 6-inch lip in order to be able to still get in and out of that. So for some, that may not be an option, but there are a variety of different types of bathroom equipment that could also help.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm so glad that both of you have touched on some of the specifics that we'll be getting into in the later slides. So this is awesome. Next slide, please. So the Home Fit Guide is where a lot of this information can be found. This is an AARP resource that you can find at the link listed on the slide, aarp.org/homefit. And you can order a hard copy as well as download a digital copy at that website. Next slide. Also available at the HomeFit webpage are room-by-room to-do lists. So you can take a preliminary scan of each room with this checklist and make a plan for yourself if there are certain barriers or things that you think that you might want to make note of and act on over time. Next slide. All right, now I'm going to turn it over to Janet to discuss entering the home from the outside.
Good morning. We're going to start with getting in and out of your house, which is an important step. And what you see here are what we call no-step entrances. So you don't have to go up a step. I know, like my house, you have to go up 1, 2 steps just to get to the front door. There are no step with these. There's no step to get in the house. You see a lot of no-step entrances in many commercial buildings like banks and grocery stores and restaurants. The picture on your left is a no-step entrance that doesn't have a commercial look. And as you can see, you can't really tell it. This house was, or it's actually a condo, was built this way. So it was built when it was originally. The condo on your left, on your right, is an older condo that they've adapted, and they have had, there were a couple steps to get up to that porch, but they have used landscaping and built a concrete ramp to get up there. So it is, in fact, a no-step entrance. Next slide. Okay, no-step entrance can really be any entrance. You can have your front door be no-step, your back door be no-step, your side door, and even your garage door, or all of the above if you so desire. These are just some pictures of some examples. Next slide. Okay. Some houses are not, you can't do a no-step, but you can make them accessible by ramps. This house shows a ramp, and if you see up there that 12-to-1, what that means is there's an act called the ADA, American Disabilities Act, and they have made standards for ramps. So if there's ramps in commercial buildings, they have to follow those ramps. But if you're going to put a ramp in your house, it's good to also follow those. And what 12-to-1 means is for every inch of rise, so however high all your steps are, you need to have 12 inches or 1 foot length of ramp to get into it. And I don't know if you can tell from this picture, but this kind of ramp goes up, and then you make a left to get into the door. You also have to have, if you're in a wheelchair or a walker, a wheelchair especially, you have to have a 5 feet square up there at the top to make that turn to go in. Again, that's ADA stipulations. ADA also stipulates that ramps should be at least 36 inches wide, and that there should be handrails on both sides if the rise is greater than 6 inches or the length of the ramp is greater than 72 inches. Next slide. There are such things called temporary ramps. They can be rented, borrowed, whatever. The ramp on the right is the type of ramp you would use if you had a loved one who used a wheel mobility on occasion. For example, like a wheeled walker. Not just a regular walker, but one that has 2 little wheels in the front of it. This ramp doesn't have any sides. If you're using this for someone with a wheelchair, will need to have someone to push the wheelchair up the ramp and into the house in order for it to be safe. As you can see, there's storm doors on both of these pictures. You can remove it, or you can make it change how it opens so it doesn't get in the way of the wheelchair or the walker. Next slide. Next slide. I think I've frozen. Is the next slide up?
Yeah, this slide is walker steps, Janet.
Okay, because my screen has frozen. Is there anything I can do for that?
Let's wait it out. Jennifer, Michelle, do you have any comments you want to add to the ramp discussion or walker steps while we wait on Janet's screen?
Sure. I was just going to add that as far as for the different types of home modifications, such as ramps and lifts and bath mods, in our area, for the individuals that we serve on some of our programs, we work closely with the rehab center. There's a gentleman there that is trained to be able to go out and develop the specifications for those larger projects, just to ensure that ADA compliance has been followed, as well as catering it to whatever that individual's accessibility needs are. And then as far as the walker steps, we also, that looks like a wooden version there. There is also the ability to do like concrete low-rise steps that are a little bit wider and flatter, so that an individual that utilizes a walker to get around can more easily access those steps, and it's not as much of a fall risk.
Great, thank you. Michelle, did you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, I agree with what Jennifer said. We also, when we send options counselors out to talk with people about the various options that they have as far as equipment and services and home modifications, we do look at all funding sources to see if they have the money to privately pay, if the VA can get involved, Medicaid, Medicare, those types of things. We usually try to work with people that own the home, but sometimes different funding sources, we can work with rentals as well. So even if it's a rental, it may be more feasible to do like the portable ramps versus like the wooden ramp, but there are lots of options available even if someone's renting a property.
Great. And then just really quickly, before Janet continues, I know there's a program called SAWS down in Evansville. Do you want to just provide a really quick overview of what that is?
SAWS is a volunteer group that does builds ramps. They typically do it in the spring and summer when the weather's a little more favorable. They do the wooden ramps traditionally. Typically what happens is we help cover the lumber part of it, and then they volunteer to do the building of it. There are some different eligibility criteria as far as they do only do homes that someone owns, and there's some financial criteria, but that is a volunteer program that's available.
Great. Thanks for plugging that. All right, Janet, I'm so glad to have you back.
Sorry about that.
No worries. Feel free to continue.
Okay, so this is a step from, it looks like a garage into the house for someone on a walker or a rollabout, which is what we call the walker with the wheels on them. Generally, the walker steps are not more than 4 inches high, and the minimum depth should be 18 to 22 inches. However, ADA recommends a 30 to 36 inch depth of the stairs. Next slide. This is just, this home lent itself to a no-step entrance because they landscaped the cemented area to gradually slope up to the door. This is the before picture, and the next slide should be the after picture. So as you can see, they used the concrete to get up there, and then they landscaped it so it looked pretty nice. Next slide. Another way to get in and out of your house is with outdoor mechanical lifts. These are, of course, can be quite expensive. They're vertical lifts, so they lift you up vertically for a front or garage door entrance. They also can be made for the side or back doors. They do have call and send signals, a manual hand crank for lowering in an emergency if you have no power, and some have a removable stay dry platform canopy and a cold weather package. This is something that you would use if you had lots of steps and no room for a ramp. If you remember back to the 1 to 12, if you have a high rise to your steps, it's going to be an extremely long ramp, so it may not be feasible with your how your house is. You can find mechanical lifts used, however, they must be professionally installed. Do not let your next door neighbor or your sister's brother's, cousin twice removed install it unless they're a professional. Another thing to note, if you have an emergency and you call 911, you should or whoever calls should let them know that you do have a mechanical lift and where it is so that they know when they come. Next slide. This one says, are interest modifications always practical? No, they are not. When you look at a home, you have to determine whether or not it's practical to create a no-step entrance or to make an inclined walkway. But you would need to consult an architect to let you know what is structurally possible for your home. Another, if the architect says okay, then a remodeler can help you with what is practical to do, and an occupational therapist, not that I'm plugging my profession, but it's something we do, can help you explore whether or not there are other adaptations or techniques that you can safely use to enter. The next slide, please. Safely getting in and out of your home. Safety is utmost importance. The last thing you want to do is fall and break your neck or anything else. So consider adding an attractive guard bar, such as the one at the entrance here. If you can see, they're kind of about, maybe a foot long, and you can use that to help pull yourself up if you're in a wheelchair or something, and then you can walk in. It's just very, they can be very, very helpful. They're attractive. People don't notice them, and you can get in and out better. Next slide. Door thresholds. If the height of your door threshold is more than 3/4 of an inch, it's very difficult for an older person to navigate over that threshold in a wheelchair. The threshold on the left is about 1.75 inches, which would make it very hard for someone to get in and out safely. The door frame threshold on the right is beveled, making it much easier. So there's not that big gap like on the left. Next slide, please. You can also get threshold ramps. The one on the left you can secure. It's just, some for metal. The one on the right is a rubber one. It's heavier. It doesn't need to be attached. The one on the left would need to be attached. You just can't lay it down there and move your wheelchair in and out. So be cautious with that. Next slide. Okay, swing clear hinges. These you can get for your doors. You can get them at any big box store, Lowe's, Menards, Home Depot, carry these. Now, they don't make your door any wider, but they remove, if you think about when you open a door, the door takes up a couple inches of that opening that you have to get into the door. So what these do is they make the door swing wider so that you can get through. Next slide. This is an example of when you open with a regular hinge, and that's the one on the left. The one on the right is a swing clear hinge. Can we play that video, Mel, or not? I guess not. What this just shows you is how the door swings out with those swing clear hinges. It will make it easier for everybody. Okay, handrails. Handrails on both sides of the stairway is very important. So you could grab onto them. Falls on stairs can cause significant injuries, especially broken hips, which are hard to recover by if you're elderly. If you're weak on one side, you're going to need a rail. Let's say you're weak on your left side. When you go up the stairs, you need a railing on your right-hand side. And then when you come down, you'll need it on the right-hand side too. So that's why you need them on both sides of your stairway. Next slide. Okay. The far left picture is an example of dual rails on both sides of the stairs. Also, I don't think you can tell from this picture, but there are stairway treads on there to make it non-slip. The middle picture shows the railings coming all the way down, and that's very important. If you notice the picture on the right, the one railing only comes partially down the stairs, and that can be very unsafe if you're needing that to hold on to get down the rest of those steps. Okay, and I'll turn it back over to Addison.
Thanks, Janet. Really quickly before I start talking about stair lifts, I want to just check with Michelle and Jennifer. Do you have anything that popped out at you while Janet was speaking about, ramps and some of the thresholds and door hinges and things like that? Is there anything that stuck out to you that you'd like to comment on?
I just wanted to mention that doorway widening is something that we often do for a lot of our individuals that utilize traditional wheelchair or the motorized wheelchairs, where maybe they don't, they're trying to fit through a doorway that's not wide enough, and they're marking up their walls and causing issues. That is another thing that we often do. If the primary means of getting around is a wheelchair, that is another option that can be explored.
Yes, I'd agree. And then I think we mentioned it earlier, but we do work with to get specifications before we do any projects, because we are social workers. And so, it's not necessarily something that, we're always aware of all the equipment or options. So we always want to get the most information that we can to find out what's the best solution for someone. And we do quite a bit of those threshold ramps as well.
Great. Thanks for sharing that. So Janet was great. I was grateful that Janet was able to cover stairs, and now I'm going to talk about stair lifts, which it's understandable that stairs are maybe one of the greatest obstacles in the house for accessibility. But a stair lift is one solution to overcoming that obstacle. As you can see, the slides on the slide, the photos here show 3 different types. One for indoors on more of a traditional staircase. One in the middle is a indoor staircase that's very narrow, and then there's an outdoor stair lift as well. So these are expensive, but keep in mind that slide that we showed early on in the presentation on living alternatives. And cost often depends on the orientation of the stairs. So if it's a straight staircase, such as the one in the middle, that probably is more affordable. The more intricate you get with the staircase, if it turns, if it has a landing, if it's curved, that can be a little bit more expensive. One thing to point out is that there are more affordable options out there than a brand new stair lift. Always check with manufacturers and some used goods sites such as Craigslist, and there might even be some local stores who offer refurbished or used stair lifts as well. But remember, no matter where you get the stair lift from, as Janet talked about earlier, safety is key. So make sure that a professional is installing a stair lift. Next slide. So now we're gonna move into the bathroom, and I just talked about how staircases might be one of the biggest obstacles. Bathrooms are also a big obstacle, and they naturally create a hazardous situation, regardless of your age or ability. You're mixing slick, wet surfaces, water with hard surfaces as well, so it can cause you to slip and fall. This photo here shows a prefabricated shower insert that has. The photo doesn't do a really good job of showing what the lip at the bottom entry looks like, but there's a 1/2-inch lip there that allows a person who might be using a mobility device such as a walker or wheelchair to get into that shower tub combo. And what it does is it also allows a person to navigate from the shower also to the toilet pretty easily, pretty seamlessly. These prefabricated inserts fit right in where your bathtub is, and it uses the same drain that your bathtub used, which is a really added benefit using the existing infrastructure there. And then It also makes use of a shower curtain. I know the photo doesn't show that, but it does use a shower curtain, and it's often with this combo sort of walk-in prefabricated shower that water can get on the floor. So it's important to have that, to use caution and use a shower curtain when you can. One thing I want to note is the grab bars. Grab bars can be added to your shower, which is really important for that added leverage when moving in and out. But it's important to consult, occupational therapists to make sure that these bars are being placed correctly, and consult professionals when installing them, because they need to be installed into the wall studs so that you're not, putting all your weight on something that's not secured properly, which can also be very hazardous. Jennifer and Michelle, before we move to the next slide, did you want to comment on bathrooms? I know this is a very popular area of the home to discuss.
Sure. And for those particular types of inserts, like you're talking about, that only have like a 1/2-inch lip, they do make a weighted shower curtain that will help to try to eliminate water splashing on the outside of that shower insert. So that is something that could be considered as well. We mentioned the tub cutout earlier, and some of the types of tub cutouts actually offer like an insert that you can put in or remove, so that if there's other individuals in the household that still need to utilize that as a bathtub, that is another option as well.
Yes, and not just with the bathrooms, but to kind of go back and talk about some of the equipment that you were referencing earlier. For our programs, we're not able to help install anything that has been bought used or secondhand, but we do always have professionals, and they do follow the ADA recommendations. But bathrooms is probably one of the biggest things that we see, that modifications that are requested. So.
Great, thank you for that. Next slide, please. And here's another example of zero threshold barrier-free shower insert. So this is a shower with a little bench that are available at a lot of big box stores as well. Next slide. Here's an example from the Department of Veterans Affairs website. It's a little bit more of a renovation. So as you can see, it's a completely tiled shower, walk-in shower, which is nice, but can be costly, as you can imagine. Next slide. So if we were meeting in person, I would ask the audience, which one of these is a grab bar. But the one thing to point out is that they are all grab bars. So many of today's options actually look like things that you would already incorporate into your bathroom, such as like a soap dish, or something to hold your washcloths or shampoos. So research indicates that grab bars are actually the safest when they're positioned horizontally to the floor. So just make sure that, again, we stress, contacting professionals, occupational therapists for, correct installation, because it can be hazardous if you do not. Next slide. And then low-cost safety devices. On the left, there's the sliding swivel bathtub chair, which helps folks slide over to the tub and get their legs over the tub. And then there's also a bench on the right, which the user would have to slide back and forth themselves. But I believe that has an insert in it for a shower curtain, which is helpful for privacy and keeping water in the tub. Jennifer, Michelle, did you want to comment on some of these more affordable options?
I'll just say that a lot of times with some of these different like handrails and seats, sometimes if you get a prescription from the doctor and take it to like a medical supply store, your insurance, either Medicare or Medicaid, will cover those. So.
Great, thank you for that. Next slide. We put this slide up here just to warn everyone that these are items, these commercially available items are things that we wouldn't recommend using because they can pose a danger. The one on the left is a handle bar that needs to be cranked and tightened over time on the bathtub. But the thing is, with using it over and over again, that can become loosened over time and can create a pretty hazardous situation if you're putting your full weight on it and it's not properly tightened. The device on the left is also, or on the right, is also a grab bar, which uses suctions, like suction cups to the wall. You have to have a pretty good flat surface for that to work, and also this can become loosened over time. So we would recommend not using these commercially available items. They seem like they're affordable and simple solutions, but they're actually could cause more damage if not used correctly. So next slide, please. I believe Jennifer had talked earlier about accessible toilets. What we have here in the photo is a comfort height toilet. With older age, it can make it more difficult for individuals to get up and down from a sitting position. One solution is this 3.5 inch, this toilet that is 3.5 inches taller than most traditional toilets. But keep in mind that it might not be the best option for everyone in your house. If someone is shorter, their feet might not touch the ground if they're using the toilet. So just make sure that you're taking in all those considerations if you're thinking about installing one of these. And Jennifer or Michelle, did you want to offer anything on toilets?
Just that there are like some toilet inserts, like toilet seat risers that could be put on there. And that's more of not a permanent change, but more of a temporary change, so that if other individuals needed to utilize that toilet, then, it could be removed if, it's not going to be utilized all of the time.
Absolutely. Such a great segue. Yeah, we wanted to plug some more inexpensive alternatives as well. And these photos are what Jennifer alluded to, what we're calling commode chairs, where one sits on top of a toilet, an existing toilet, which provides like a higher seat for the user. And then on the right are just the arm handles, which provide additional leverage, and that fixes onto the toilet. So both pretty good, inexpensive options that you can check out. Next slide. Some additional support devices for toilets. We talked about the one on the top left. On the top right, you have bars that attach directly to the wall that can be positioned in a vertical position, but can also come down. So when you're not using it, then you can put them up. The bottom left is what we call a super pole with a super bar. This is something that can be used throughout the home, and the next slide will show that as well. And then the bottom right one is so inconspicuous. That is a grab bar, which is attractively designed to fit over your toilet paper holder. So some pretty cool solutions there as well. Next slide. Oh, we must have removed the super pole slide. Anyways, accessible sinks. This is a really important thing to note, that many traditional vanities don't provide legroom for individuals who might be using a wheelchair or mobility device, which can cause some access issues. These examples in the photos work for anyone who might be sitting a little lower or needs to come all the way up to the vanity or the sink. Just be careful with pipes that are underneath the sink, because the hot water supply can become very hot and be hazardous and cause burns and things like that. So make sure that you're consulting professionals and, if necessary, putting on some heat proofing materials to protect your legs. All right. I think we're going to break for questions, but just before we do that, and I turn it over to Linda, I wanted to see if Jennifer or Michelle had any comments on vanities or anything we just covered.
I don't have any comments on vanities, but I did want to throw out that all the modifications that we do at SWRCA with government funding are based on health and safety needs. And so We can't do any kind of home maintenance or beautification projects. Of course, if we're looking at, if someone's privately paying, that's a different story. But all of the modifications that we assist the community with are based on health and safety needs.
Great. All right, Linda, do you want to check and see if we have any questions?
It looks like nobody has any questions yet.
Okay, perfect. Well, we'll just keep on rolling then.
Okay.
Now I'm going to hand it over to Janet to talk about the kitchen and other parts of the house. Next slide, please.
Okay. In the kitchen, sometimes standing at the counter may be taxing. And you may not have enough room on your countertop to do what you want to do. So this is an inexpensive way. It's a pull-out countertop, and it increases accessibility. You can also pull it out, and if you need to sit down and do things, you can do that. It comes in various sizes. You can get it to replace one of your drawers, and then you can attach the existing drawer front so that it matches your cabinet. So when you close it back up, it just looks like your regular cabinet. Next slide. Another suggestion for the kitchen is to replace knobs, round knobs. If you have weak hands or not a good grasp or not real coordinated, some D-shaped pulls and handles rather than knobs would be ideal for you. Next slide, please. Okay, there's always a debate over whether the microwave is better over the stove versus a countertop microwave. Although over the stove puts it out of your way, it can make it hard to reach. So we recommend the countertop microwave. It's less dangerous. If we have any arm limitations, can't quite lift our arms up high enough, the over the stove one may make that impossible. So if you can move your microwave down to your countertop, I think it would be easier to use. Okay, next slide, please. Kitchen safety devices. These can be used when for safety with people with memory loss. And there are different control mechanisms. The one at the top can be used to limit the time when the oven is operable, or to turn it off the stove when there is no one in the kitchen. It is programmable to turn the stove off after 5, 10, or 15 minutes after the room is empty. To restart it, you just push the start button. The iGuard stove, which is the one directly beneath that one, the black looking one, this automatically shuts off your stove after 5 minutes of no one being in the kitchen. You can put this on manual control for longer periods of uninterrupted cooking. It has a convenient lock to disable the stove from unauthorized use. So if you have a caregiver, the caregiver can lock it. There's a night lock. There's a child lock. You can remotely monitor and disable the stove using your smart devices. C is something we call the pot watcher, and this is a heat-resistant glass disc, and you put it in your pot of water if you're boiling, and you'll know the water's boiling when you hear it makes kind of a gently rattling noise that will alert you so your stuff doesn't boil over. Next slide. Next slide. Oh, okay, thank you. Sorry. Here's some more kitchen safety. A side open oven has the hinge rather than on the bottom, it's on the side. So this makes it easier for someone in a wheelchair to access it. The countertop oven, the one more toward the bottom, is a good alternative. Put it on your countertop and use it instead of your oven is a safe safer way to allow your loved ones to cook. And then the one to your right is a multiple door oven with a smaller oven on top and a regular size on the bottom. And the bottom one may be easier for your loved one to open and get into. Counter workspace here, I would like to add, your counter should be 27 to 34 inches in height. And if possible, a clear space under the counter to allow legroom for the kitchen. So I've seen clients who took the doors off their cabinets that are underneath their sink, and somebody kind of cut it open so they can get their wheelchair, and so their legs will fit under there. So next slide. Next slide. I froze again.
Oh, that's okay. We're on the slide of finding creative solutions. So it has a card table there.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. You can often find creative solutions to overcome obstacles. This picture is a picture of a creative solution. This person had a knee replacement and couldn't easily carry food across the room with her walker. So she set up a card table at the end of her counter so she could slide her food down the counter, place it on the table, and then sit down to eat. It can be easily taken down if other people want to use the kitchen, or if you have other things going, but it made it easier to have a closer eating area. Next slide. Is
Can
this
you see the slides now? Yeah, this is the laundry.
I'm still frozen.
No worries, Janet. Why don't you take time to see if you can fix that, and then we'll just see if Michelle or Jennifer want to add anything to countertops or some of those creative solutions we were just discussing.
I was just going to say, we don't do as many kitchen modifications as we do like other areas of the home, but we have done like lowered cabinets and things in the kitchen to make them more handicapped accessible for individuals that are in a wheelchair. I know that's one of the desirable options that we've done in the past. And I'm learning new stuff too, because some of the devices that were shared, I hadn't seen before, so.
Yeah, I agree with Jennifer. We really don't do much in the kitchen. We do a lot of bathrooms, ramps, door widening, those kinds of things. But I think that the information that you provided is really great, and I believe we'll be sharing it with some of our clients. So.
Oh, good. Very good. Awesome. Well, I'm glad. I think Janet's back. So Janet, take it away.
Okay. This is the laundry room, and in a lot of people's houses, their laundry is in the basement, which the stairs may make that inaccessible to them. So how are you going to do your laundry? Well, one suggestion is to have a combination washer and dryer and put it in a closet, or if you have a big kitchen, there may be area in there to put it. The space-saving unit to your far left is a combination washer and dryer. One's on top and one's on bottom. The problem with this one is you may not be able to reach the whatever is on top, whether it be the washer or the dryer. The one in the middle is another combo. One that you can put in your closet, you can put in your kitchen, wherever the professionals determine you can get water and vent it so it can heat. Another solution is a combination washer and dryer. These are pretty common in Europe and especially the United Kingdom. It's everything all in one. So you wash your clothes in there. That finishes, and then it also dries it. It's space saving, it's portable, it's efficient, it's ventless, so you don't have to vent this one. There is a plug, so you do need electricity to it, and they're very easy to use. So that's another possibility if you can't get to your washer and dryer. Next slide, please. Electrical outlets and switches. This shows you a toggle switch, which is a very good switch if you have any weakness or difficulties with your hands. Switch height and types are very important. It is suggested that switches be 3 to 4 feet from the floor, so a maximum height of 48 inches, a minimum of 36. These are rocker types of switches. It's very important to have switches at the bottom and the top of your stairs, your indoor stairs, so that you have plenty of light when you're going up and down stairs. Next slide, please. Lighting in the home. Adequate lighting is needed everywhere. You need to be able to see where you're going and what's there. So hallways need good lighting, stairwells do, entrances, living areas, bedrooms, bathrooms. It's very important. I know people want to be green, and so they want to save on their electricity, but being safe is more important than a few cents or kilowatt hours used. Good lighting can prevent a fall. So think about that. Another thing very concerning is throw rugs. And I know a lot of people like to have throw rugs out, but they're very easy to trip over, and they're a fractured hip waiting to happen. So if you can pull those up, that would make it even safer. Next slide, please. Night lights. Night lights will also help you prevent falls. If you have to go to the bathroom, you can get these really inexpensively. Most anywhere, Walmart has them, Target has them. It would be good to have one in your bedroom, in the hallway, and the bathroom. The first picture on the far, I think the far right is an LED night light that's movement sensitive. Oh no, I'm sorry, that one's on the far left. And then the second one, the one in the middle, is light sensitive, and the last one is an LED light that's light sensitive. Another tip, if you're going to go on vacation and you're going to stay in somebody else's house or in a motel, take your night light with you. It's very important. You would be if you're in somebody else's house or in a motel, it's an unfamiliar surrounding. So if you have a nightlight in the bedroom part and in the hallway and in the bathroom, and these are very easily removable from your home, and stick it in your suitcase to take with you. Next slide, please. Windows for temperature control and emergency. Windows are very important. Make sure that you can open and close them. You may not be able to escape through them, but you might need to open them to get somebody to come in to help you escape. So just think about that with your windows. All right, I'll turn it back over to Addison.
Thanks, Janet. Michelle, Jennifer, before I kind of breeze through and provide a quick overview with these last few slides, did you have anything you wanted to offer on anything Janet just discussed?
No, it's kind of similar to the kitchens. Those aren't things that we always, we do hear a lot of times about the throw rugs and those kinds of things, but I think the night lights were really good suggestions as well.
Awesome. Thank you. So just quickly as we wrap up here, I know we're approaching the hour mark. I want to go over some safety measures before we end today. Make sure you always have some sort of communication device on you. There are many cordless options out there, whether it be landline or a flip phone or a smartphone. Even smart watches now can provide a way of getting in touch with someone if you've fallen or are in a hazardous situation. And then there are also the, on the right, there are the more traditional wrist and lanyard one-button emergency contact options as well. And those can be purchased at big box stores too. Next slide. All right. So we've emphasized safety throughout this entire presentation. Please work with consultants. A good first step is just getting in touch with your area agency on aging. We have two professionals from SWRCA here today, so maybe start there if you have questions, and then they can direct you into the right appropriate contractor or occupational therapist or whomever. These are folks that can help you, and you definitely need to consult them before any major modifications you make. I actually want to open it up to both Jennifer, Michelle, and even Janet, like if anyone has any comments on consulting professionals.
I was just going to say the medical alert device that you were just sharing, that is probably one of the most important pieces of safety that an individual can have. And a lot of those come with fall sensors and things as well. And how that works, just in case our listeners aren't for sure, there's a monitoring device that connects with the agency that you've purchased the device through. And so if you do push your button, or if you have a fall sensor that goes off, somebody is going to interact with you through your phone line to see if you're okay, to see if you need assistance, and they may have contacted one of your emergency contacts that you have listed, or if you need an ambulance, they will dispatch an ambulance as well. For individuals that might be living in more of like an apartment complex or a high rise, a lot of times these agencies that provide that device can also provide a lockbox where a key could be stored, so that in the event that you're in front of your door and they can't safely get inside to help you, then EMS will be able to access that safety box to get the key to be able to come in and provide whatever assistance is needed.
Yeah, and just to piggyback on that, a lot of those emergency response systems do have monthly fees, but we have found some that you can do a one-time purchase on Amazon and different places like that. So if the monthly fee could be a problem for someone, there are some other alternatives. And one thing that we didn't really talk about was some devices for people with dementia. I know that sometimes we put on help people with different door alarms and different things like that, as other safety devices for someone that might have memory impairment.
Another
Definitely.
thing I forgot to add, sorry.
Yeah, please.
One of the services that we can also provide, and I'm sure that there's private pay options as well, is the medication dispensers. Like if somebody does have memory impairment and they're not able to safely remember to take those medications, there's a device that can provide reminders, and it can also be programmed to go off like maybe 30 minutes before their scheduled dose of medication. So it will go off and provide a reminder, it's 8 o'clock, it's now time to take your medication. So that's another option too, for individuals with memory impairment.
And there's also some of those medication dispensers will only dispense that particular dose. They're programmed, and so they can't overdose themselves.
Great. That's great to know. Thanks for plugging that. Next slide, please. Thanks, Mel. Just really quickly, I want to plug again that the HomeFit guide is available at this website, aarp.org/homefit. It's been newly updated this past year, so it's got new information in it. If you have an old copy, order a new one or download a digital copy. Whether you're a caregiver, caring for an aging loved one, or you yourself are just looking to make your home a little safer, a little bit more accessible, it has really helpful tips. So I recommend checking out that website. Next slide. And don't forget about the room-by-room checklists, which are a really helpful tool to just do a quick scan of your home and make a plan for finding more information. Next slide. Oh, back one, please. Sorry, must have advanced forward. The last slide that we have is just before we get to questions, is talking about volunteering with us. So I want everyone to know that AARP Indiana has an Evansville volunteer team that both Linda and Janet lead. We are a small but mighty team of folks who are trying to advocate on behalf of older adults and caregivers alike, and just making sure that we're creating communities, that an Evansville community or a greater Evansville community that is more age-friendly and is a better place to live for all people. So we do have more information on getting in touch right here. You can email AARP, that's our general email. So if you're interested in volunteering with us, please go ahead and shoot us an email. And then that's our website as well, so you can find more information on there. I want to give Jennifer and Michelle an opportunity to plug volunteering with SWRCA and how folks can get in touch with you if they want more information.
We also have a volunteer program, and we have a coordinator that leads that up, and her name is Kim Moorhead. I can provide that contact information to you, Addison, if you would like, or I guess I could put it in the chat if you want me to.
Sure, yeah, definitely, if you don't mind. We can put it up on the screen. Michelle, did you want to add anything about people getting in touch or volunteering with SWRCA?
Well, like Jennifer said, Kim is the contact for any volunteers. With everything going on with COVID right now, we're a little limited in some of the activities that we're able to provide. But the main SWRCA number is 812-464-7800, and they could ask to speak with Kim. Also, if anyone is just wanting to get information about programs or needing help with a modification, they could also call that number and ask to speak with someone in our Aging and Disability Resource Center, the ADRC, and they're the ones who really take those initial calls and provide resource information, and then see if we need to pass it along to an ongoing care manager, provide some additional information. Or
Perfect. Well, we have the phone number up for SWRCA right now, so yeah, feel free to jot that down if you're interested in volunteering or if you'd like more information. And then you can also email AARP, and we can get you more information on SWRCA if we need to, for if you want to connect with them online. Now I'm going to hand it back to Linda to close us out. Wonderful
program. And it doesn't look like we have any questions right now, but I hope those that are listening or watching us, that you enjoyed the subject and found it informative. I do want to tell you that we do have another part 2 in our series coming in February. It's entitled Home and Community-Based Services 101, and it's going to provide an overview of some resources and services that are available in our area to help keep you in your home. And that's going to air on Tuesday, February the 23rd at 10 o'clock Central Standard Time. So glad you got to join us today, and have a wonderful rest of your day. Thanks.